Well, friends, I can't believe we have finally made it to chapter 40 of Isaiah, or as the critics have called it, Isaiah 2. I won't take the time to discuss this at length here, but the New Testament makes quite clear that the same Isaiah wrote Isaiah 53 and Isaiah 6. If you're interested in searching that out, you missed some of our previous groups. I encourage you to read John 12, 39 through 41. For now, I'll just comment that the words literally say that same Isaiah said with regard to Isaiah 6 and Isaiah 53. And it's just kind of amazing how the Holy Spirit, written years before the idea that there was two Isaiahs ever happened in the New Testament, how he anticipated some of these lies and falsehoods that would come about and literally uses those words. And I love that for the Holy Spirit, and I love that for us too. Anyway, I think it's pretty clear that there is one Isaiah in terms of authorship, but certainly there is this stylistic difference, a change in tone that occurs between Isaiah 39 and Isaiah 40. So chapters 1 through 39, which we have previously covered, have different subject matter and focus than do chapters 40 through 66 in the book of Isaiah. So, why the change? Well, it seems that Isaiah's most direct, and by that I mean his closest in time audience that he is addressing, has sprung forward in time. And I know that might seem confusing or even just overly philosophical, but if you hang in with me for a minute, I'm going to try to give some practical examples and break it down a little bit, okay? So let's talk back about what we've already covered. In chapters 1 through 39, we find that Isaiah himself is a participant in the prophecy that he is delivering. So let's look at examples of what is that. In chapter 6, we get an account of him literally having this vision. He gives us a year marker in the year King Uzziah died, and he goes to the temple and he gives us a first-hand account of this vision that he himself sees, right? It was his commission. Moving on, in chapter 7 through 12, we get an account of Isaiah's interaction with Ahaz and the current events of Isaiah's time that are taking place. It's this would-be siege with Israel and Syria. Let's move ahead. In chapter 20, Isaiah gets this assignment that I'm sure he was thrilled. He gets an assignment to literally walk around naked for 3 years to demonstrate in person to the Egyptians the manner in which they will be carried off, and so they are. In chapters 36 through 39, we get another historical interlude, this account of more current events. And this time it's with Hezekiah, still in Jerusalem, and Isaiah's interactions here. And the final kind of message of Isaiah's time, or to his contemporaries of these current events that are going on when he is living, is found in chapter 39. So in chapter 39, these envoys from Babylon are sent to Jerusalem. Hezekiah has made this miraculous recovery, and they're sent to kind of check this out. An opportunity, right, for Hezekiah to talk about the power of Yahweh, but instead Hezekiah in his pride decides to show them all the treasures that Hezekiah has, both in the temple, in the palace, just everything that they have. Would seem not a great idea in practical terms, certainly not what Yahweh would have for him. So Isaiah gets wind of this, and his last message, both to Hezekiah, to Judah, and to all of his contemporaries, it would seem, is, well, great job, Hezekiah, showing them everything that we have, because all of that treasure is in fact going to be theirs when they carry it off to Babylon. And in fact, you know what, they're going to carry off the whole nation, including your sons in the palace, to Babylon too. So the final word that we get in this first Isaiah, so to speak, and to his generation is essentially, to exile and to Babylon you will go. And so they do. But not until approximately 100 years after the death of Isaiah himself. So this is where it gets a little interesting. We have this break, chapter 39, the last address to this group still living in Jerusalem who has not yet been exiled. And I believe in chapter 40, Isaiah's direct audience shifts, and he's now speaking to a different group of people, still Judah, but the Judah who is now in Babylon. So we've kind of gone 100 years to the future in who he is directly addressing, and it's people that are not alive at the same time as him. And it would seem, based on a variety of factors, that it's a group that has been there for a while, and that more than anything, just based on the fact that it's directly explaining the exact way that God is going to remove them from exile. And the key players in these chapters 40 through 66 are no longer the contemporary rulers of Isaiah's day, right? So 1 through 39, we see Hezekiah, we see Ahaz, we see Uzziah. These are all people who lived and were active during the time of Isaiah's ministry. Now, in this chapters 40 through 66, we do still have some rulers, but it's a different group. First of all, it's an empire of Babylon. The empire of Babylon did not exist in Isaiah's day. They were a small nation, a vassal to Assyria during his ministry. And the other key player is a king of this empire. His name is Cyrus, and Isaiah actually does call him out by name, and yet Cyrus wouldn't be born until 100 years after Isaiah's death. So there's this change, and where we saw in Isaiah chapters 1 through 39 that he was an active participant, it was people he was speaking to, he was walking around acting out these prophecies in chapters 1 through 39, he's going to shift to be more of an outside voice, in fact, completely an outside voice, narrating the prophecies of chapters 40 through 66. So it's no longer the time or the world that Isaiah is walking around in. He's speaking to this group literally 100 years later who are in exile, and he's speaking like he's looking in on it, but not that he is an active participant. And where the prophecies of chapters 1 through 39 focus on the impending judgment that would come upon Jerusalem, Israel, and in fact the earth, the prophecies of chapters 40 through 66 focus on the deliverance and redemption of Jerusalem, Israel, and in fact the world. So as we make the shift over from the first major section of Isaiah to the second, I think to understand it, you've got to understand that he's now addressing this group in exile in Babylon, and that's his first audience. There's going to be a little more to it. I'm going to walk us through the first chapter, and we'll see how that kind of plays out, chapter 40, in the next video.